All right, so this is the debate, and today what we are looking at is we are asking if the Premier League is higher than the Championship when it comes to the level of competition. And so the guys are here to delve into it, Susu Graham and also Jay Nobo. Let me start off with you, Susu. Where do you stand on this? On the back of the teams from the Championship that have got promoted to the Premier League, in the last couple of years, we've not seen them come and dominate like would see certain teams do. They come and they are back to where they came from. Example is Leicester, Southampton. These are some of the teams that have come in and gone back.
You know, I don't think it's a player quality thing necessarily. I think it's a style thing. I think that the way they play the Championship doesn't lend themselves to the Premier League. Burnley, Southampton, these are good examples.
Yeah.
They are teams that they were playing possession football, they dominate the game, they play like the top teams in the Premier League play in the Championship.
They want to be like the top teams.
Yes, they play like the top teams.
Or
but
in the Championship.
If you play that way and you come to the Premier League and your players are not good enough,
Yeah.
and you start trying to outpass Brentford, you start trying to outpass Newcastle, they will just be laughing at you as you are doing it. It'll be like, you know, how do I explain? You know, like when you are playing a game with like your little cousin,
Yeah.
and he thinks that, oh, because you are taking it easy.
He rich.
That's what it's going to be like, basically, because, so that's why I say I think it's a style thing, because the way they are playing in the Championship to dominate the Championship, when they come to the Premier League, you can see that they are trying to play the same way, but it's like everything is faster. Everybody is better. So look at Southampton. Look at how they struggle when they are trying to build up from the back and do their things. It's been a disaster. So, and I feel like if you look at some of the Southampton players and the way they are, if some of them played for a team like Fulham, where Fulham sometimes makes it up, sometimes Fulham know how to play, sometimes Fulham go long, they'll look okay. But I think that's why I say it's a coaching thing, because if you look at the teams that have looked the most impressive in the last few years, it's been Ipswich and last year Luton.
Yeah, even they still went down.
They went down
they still went down.
If you remember, they basically almost like were not expected to even be in the playoffs.
You mean Luton, right?
Yeah,
Luton.
They were playing more long ball, they were more physical, but their players just were not good enough. Because Luton are now back in the Championship, they're about to get relegated.
And they're struggling, yeah.
They're struggling, they're in the relegation zone. But because they played a style that was, you know, useful when you're a team that's not great.
Yeah, with the quality they had.
They played with their quality. They were trying to be defensive. They tried to use the counter-attack, but they didn't have the player quality. But you look at a team like Burnley, they spent a lot of money, but they decided that they wanted to play attractive, short-passing football. If Burnley had spent that money on players that are like maybe quick wingers, tough tackling midfielders, a big striker who is physical and they might have done better. So I think what it is we have a playing style problem. And I don't want to say that the Championship teams will never be able to compete. I don't think that that's what's happening. I think it's that the way they play, they come to the Premier League and try and play the same way. They try and be true to their principles, but the speed of the game is now a lot faster. Yeah, they are playing against better players. They are just as physical and they are better than you physically usually. They are better than you technically. So when you try and play that short passing game, it's very difficult. You have to find something that you are good at, or like you have to try and advance your strength. You can't come and do what the top teams in the Premier League are doing, where are not the top teams in terms of players and in terms of, you know, tactics. So I think that what we have right now is that what is successful for teams in the Championship doesn't work in the Premier League. I think we used to have before is that when teams get promoted, they know that we are underdogs. They know that we are going to have to be physical. They know we are going to have to be solid defensively. I'll give you a good example. Look at Chris Hughton's Norwich teams.
Yeah.
They didn't come and try and play
anything
interesting. Even I believe that he was coach of Huddersfield as well.
Yeah.
Or was it Brighton?
I think it was Brighton.
It was Brighton.
Before Potter came.
Yes. He didn't try and play attractive football. He didn't try and, you know, pass. He said, look, we are not good. Our players are not good. Let's be solid at the back. Let's try and play long. So you see him using strikers like Glenn Murray, Grant Holt. You see, so I think that right now what we have is a playing style problem. I don't think it's a quality problem, because if you look at how some Premier League teams like West Ham, Fulham are able to take some players from the Championship, Brentford, integrate them and make them look very good in the Premier League, it shows that Championship players are not bad at all. But I think they are not being coached the right way. I think the Championship coaches are trying to be Pep Guardiola, but They should try and be more David Moyes.
But let me give this to you.
Yeah.
When you say it's a playing start problem, so then again it boils down to the coaches. Now if you have maybe, let's say I'm the owner of Ipswich.
Yeah.
The coach, you are my coach, you get a team promoted. Would you then have to sack the coach, bring in a Premier League leveled coach to match up with the quality in the Premier League?
I think let's look at this way. Over the past 3 seasons, the teams that have stayed up, if I remember correctly, Fulham, Bournemouth,
Brentford is in there too.
Brentford. No, but Brentford have been in the league for a while.
Yeah.
Bournemouth. There's another team I think I'm missing. Nottingham Forest. So if you look at these teams, the coaches they came into the league with are not the same coaches they have now.
Yeah. So the following
and the
season,
coaches they have now are
the following
performing
season
way
they do
better
changes.
than them. Exactly. So you look at Forest now. Nuno is there. He's pushing for Champions League. You look at Iraola. It's taking him some time.
What's his name?
Steve Cooper.
Steve Cooper was there for a while.
But he was allowing them to bring Andrea and things. He's not serious.
But he survived the first time.
Yeah, he did. But
And he
eventually
was a pragmatic.
I think they sacked him before the season ended.
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Nuno.
Yeah.
And Nuno steadied the ship.
No, I'm saying he survived the first season. It was the next season that he was starting to
He lost
shake.
his way.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So you see, in as much as stylistically there might be a problem, I also do think the coaching is also part. So the level of coaching at the Premier League, if you run through the teams, majority of these coaches were top coaches even in their country, or they were doing very well. And the teams in the league now have money to go out there and get the best coaches wherever they want to get them from. So you look at a Bournemouth, they have Iraola. You look like a Fulham, Marco Silva has up his game. Teams are able to go in there and get very, very good coaches. So then there's also a gap in as much as the stylistically, I think the quality is also there. Because even if you look at the teams that they have, the team that Bournemouth has now is totally different from what they brought into the league.
Yeah.
You look at the team that Nottingham Forest have now. Yeah, Nottingham Forest, I think at the point had about 35 players on their squad. But if you look at how Nuno has trimmed it down, outside Ryan Yates and maybe 1 or 2 players.
Maybe Yates, he doesn't start.
My point exactly. They've had to totally change the team to be able to play up to the standard of the Premier League. You look at the teams that have come in over the past 2 seasons, all of them have gone down. Leicester, they are not going to survive.
Last season, everybody went down.
This season, everybody is also going to go down.
It's going to repeat.
I mean, Ipswich, they have their own special case because they went through the ranks quite quick.
They
and then
back-to-back promotions.
Exactly.
But
So
that's something. Look, they are the ones who are right now 18th. They are above Leicester.
no, I think Leicester is about them.
Is it go different? But
Yeah,
I think they're
Leicester-
the same
it's
point.
just go different.
Yeah, but also for me, I think generally it's the coaching is one. You need to up your game to be up to the Premier League. You look at the coaches you are going against in the Premier
You said they are
League.
all looking up to Pep Guardiola. So,
That-
but you see that point.
I get his point. But everybody suffers.
What's his name? Company did same. He tried doing same with
It
Burnley.
didn't work.
And it didn't
Any
work.
coach who has, you look at Falke, when he brought in Norwich, they tried to
Yeah,
play
yeah,
that.
from the
they
back.
got
It also didn't
relegated.
work.
So you would need to, I think here this is why I see it. You need to play a system, if you know that you are trying to get to the Premier League, play a system that when you get to the Premier League, you get a bit more money and you buying players. You can consolidate what you are doing. But then if you have to, you play a whole, I think they play about 46 games a certain way.
Yeah.
Come into the Premier League.
You can't change it.
And change it,
that
you
one
will
is
suffer.
It's
So
difficult.
if you look at the teams that have actually done the transition very well, like a Brighton, they are still in the Premier League. They are they are now a feeder club for some of these bigger teams. You look at a Bournemouth, now their structure.
Yeah.
You look at even a West Ham. They've
Can put
stabilized
Brentford in
things. Yeah, so
But Brentford still play very long.
They play
ball
very
aggressive.
yeah.
You know,
I think they've stuck with their style a bit.
I'll go back to the thing you said about the coaches. I think
Quickly, we have to move on.
we've seen some of these coaches, like you said. Even then, Bournemouth is a good example.
Yeah.
Remember Scott Parker complained the players were not good enough after the 9-0 against Liverpool and got sacked.
Yeah.
And they gave it to Gary O'Neill,
Yeah.
who had no, what's the word I'm
Yeah.
looking for? No
Experience
experience.
or anything.
He
But
was
they
able
stayed
to
up
keep
with
them
what
up
they had,
because
yeah.
he decided, look, this is what we have. Let's be solid. Let's be pragmatic.
Yeah.
Brentford, pragmatic. They stayed up. Forest, they were pragmatic for the longest time. Okay, the coach was losing his way. We brought in another pragmatic coach. They didn't go for some attractive football coach.
Yeah.
So the teams that have been able to solidify themselves and stay, they've been pragmatic. Look at Marco Silva right now. He used to be a bit more fluid, but he's become more
yeah, but he's
pragmatic.
found balance. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think it shows that.
So it's two elements in there. The
Yeah.
coaching
I think I can agree with him that the coaches are sometimes a level below.
Yeah.
But I think that
and some of
part
the players too.
Oh, yeah,
Or some of
definitely.
the
I mean,
players
look,
there.
you are going to have one of the worst squads in the Premier
Yeah.
League, but your job is to overachieve.
Yeah,
Your
because
job is
I
to
know
get-
I know you made a very interesting point about Ipswich some time ago
Yeah.
about the kind of players
No,
they were.
because Ipswich is back-to-back promotion.
Yeah.
So how many of these players were even thinking that next season will be
Even
in the Premier
mentally,
League?
were they, are they
Yeah.
even there? Yeah.
And
Well,
I think Nottingham Forest were a good example when Steve Cooper took over because Chris Hughton was coach.
Yeah.
They had finished 17th or 18th. They were in the relegation zone. They sacked Chris Hughton.
Yeah.
Steve Cooper comes in. They fly into the top 6, winning the playoffs, come into the Premier League. And they have half their players on loan. So they basically had to buy a new team regardless.
Yeah. And they
You know.
overbought.
Yeah, but it just goes to show that sometimes, because of the way the championship is, you planning that you are going to be promoted, you are going to be promoted. There's the playoffs. You might have a bad season. And look at Coventry now. They just changed their coach. Lampard has won 9 out of his
Yeah.
last 10 or something like that.
It's taking them up to somewhere seat or something.
Exactly. So Coventry might come in and you might ask yourself, okay, what will Lampard do? If Lampard decides that we are going to
Expansive
attack,
football.
attack,
They'll go back.
they will go down. They will go down.